Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next episode of joinEdTech Talks, where I'm super privileged to have Sophie Nieto on the call, who is a Chief Culture and People Officer at FlexGe. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Marcin. Thank you so much for having me. I love to receive this invite. Thank you.
Oh, no, the pleasure is on our side. Sophie, please tell us a bit about FlexGe. What do you guys do, and who is your product for?
Okay. So FlexGe is an EdTech, and I guess that's the reason I'm here today. But we are an EdTech that produces digital English courseware that is deeply associated with hybrid, gamified, and active learning. So what we try to do is we aim to empower both teachers and schools in order to make English learning more fun, more dynamic, and more efficient. And right now, our focus is on private teachers and English learning centers, but we are looking into public schools and private companies as well in the near future.
Excellent. And why English specifically? What market problem does your product solve?
Well, I think there's no discussion about the importance of English speaking in a world as globalized as the one we have right now. And unfortunately, here in Brazil, only 5% of people can communicate in English, but only 1% is actually fluent. This is according to the British Council. So, there was a huge need here for something that would solve this problem. But more than solving the problem of just English speaking, there's a need for better education systems and resources. And not only in Brazil, but in so many countries, we have so much knowledge and so many great minds that aren't getting the attention they deserve just because they aren't able to communicate. And that's a shame. So that's what we try to help.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, we are the best example. And the employer market globalization after pandemic is the best example of that as well. So it doesn't really matter where you are as long as you're able to communicate and if you have the right skill set in place, correct?
Yes, and that's exactly, well, we talked about it, but how motivating it is when we think about it that way, right? We wouldn't just be teaching another language. We would be opening so many doors to so many people just by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Totally on board. Sophie, what is your role at FlexG?
Well, as you said, I'm the Chief People Officer, so I'm responsible for People and Culture Department. I just take care of our most important assets, and that's our people. I take this responsibility very, very seriously, but I am very passionate about what I do as well. And I firmly believe that a big, big part of that is of taking care of the people that work with us is providing a truthful, engaging, amazing culture that they can feel so proud to be part of. So that's my role.
Excellent. And can you share with us what is the pathway actually to lead you to becoming Chief People and Culture Officer at FlexG?
Wow. Okay. That's a funny story, actually, because it kind of happened when I wasn't looking. Starting from the beginning, I graduated from a university specializing in business administration and human resources. But after that, my life went into so many different jobs and areas. And I find it kind of funny because nowadays this has like an official name on LinkedIn. They call it Mosaic Careers. But this just happened to me. I lived in so many different cities and countries. And I had so many jobs in marketing, education, way back when. I'm sorry. And I worked with tourism and exchanges, events, and I really do believe that all of them helped me become the professional I am today. And they all led me in some ways towards my position and towards FlexG. But more recently speaking, I was working at another amazing startup we have here in Curitiba, Brazil, where I live. And I've always been so passionate about startups. But the only thing that I felt like I was lacking at that point is that job didn't require me to use my English. And I've always loved English. I'm Argentinian, so my native language was Spanish, but I've been speaking English since I was 3 years old. So it was like really part of my life. And for the first time, I wasn't using it. So I started looking for something that would require me to use my English. And I found a part-time job with FlexGe. So that's when FlexGe first came into my life. I started working with them just 15 hours a week, correcting and modifying some of the platform's English content. And I just fell in love with the product, but more than anything with the people. Back when we were just like 7 or 8 of us, I think. And then a year later, when the company's first investment came in, we had a meeting, and FlexGe was always 100% digital home office. So we were working from home all the time, even before the pandemic. But when the first investment came in, we had this meeting in person. And I just found myself in like this deep, amazing conversation with FlexGe's owners about what we each thought about how a company should be run, what values we would like to have in a company, how the day-to-day should happen, how people should be treated. And we're so aligned. We wanted the same things. It was like this really incredible moment of my life. And at the end of that trip, of that meeting, Felipe, our CEO, invited me to join them full-time as their CPO. And I accepted. And this is only like a year ago. But it always blows my mind when I say this, because it seems like a decade ago. We've been through so many things in just 1 year. But that's startups, right?
Wow, yeah, exactly. That's this turbulence is part of the startup life, right? Congrats. Well, that sounds amazing, Sophie. Huge congrats for that achievement. I know Philippe personally, and you are not the first person saying that he is a true leader in terms of the way he manages the team. So, Philippe, if you're hearing us, then congrats on taking
sure
the team so far. Great. Sophie, I'm sure that there is quite a lot of transitioning teachers who actually listen to our conversation as well, among other professionals. But how important was the teaching experience in your case while coming on board FlexGe? What EdTech roles do you think could benefit the most from people with teaching experience? I'm sorry, it's a big, lengthy question, but I hope you can answer those.
Yeah, sure. Well, I actually got hired because of my previous teaching experience. So I'd say it's super important. It was super important for me. As I just explained, when I first came into FlexGe, it was to look at the platform's English content. And sure, that involved correcting some mistakes and, correcting some tests. But more than anything, it was about making all the content more streamlined, because it was produced by several independent teachers. And more than anything, it was about thinking the platform as a whole and what would make sense for a teacher using this new technology. So, being able to put yourself in that situation, to walk a little bit in their shoes, it's very important. So for us at FlexGe specifically, having classroom experience is a must when we think about hiring for our learning department. They are the ones creating the content and all the time revising it to make sure that it makes sense. Other than our learning department, I would say that this is something that comes in really handy for people that will be involved in designing our product. And that, as you know, has so many different branches, right? We could be talking IT, we could be talking, product, and of course, design as well, UX, etc. For other departments, I always say that although we might not have experience teaching, we all have some experience with learning at least. Maybe somebody never taught, but he or she for sure was a student at some point. So we always try to bring this up because we can all relate to many of the challenges we look at in the industry if we start thinking that way. So, of course, it is important, and it's always this like extra cherry on top when we're looking at a professional, especially in learning and with those departments that are more involved with the product. But overall, I mean, even if we're talking, for example, a sales representative, maybe that person never taught, was never in an English classroom. But he
Right.
was at some kind of classroom at some point in their life, and they can relate to the struggles of a teacher or of a student trying to understand and using this new technology. So yeah, I'd say it's important, especially for some areas, but we can all relate in some way to EdTechs as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's a very good remark, and I think this kind of overview, having this bird's eye view and understanding and think, and something that allow you to think creativity or let's say challenge certain decisions, because you might take for granted that this solution would solve certain pain points of teachers, but in actually, it might not, and that's the kind of the real struggle there.
Yes.
Sophie.
Wear these different hats and trying to put yourself in different situations is always
exactly. From your experience, why do people get passionate about EdTech? How do you view this?
I think it's kind of related to this thing we just talked about. All of us have been through a learning experience at some point, if not as teachers, as students. So it's something familiar. We all have this in our lives. We all have struggled at some point with a teacher or with a subject. And I think it's so thrilling to think that we could change, or better yet, improve this in some way. So I think that's why people start getting so passionate, because it's something so relatable. And also, education is such a conservative industry as well, that hasn't seen so many changes in decades almost. So it has that added bonus of being a huge challenge. We need to prove our worth so much more. And that, for the right people, I think can be the biggest motivator there is as well.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Sophie, what attributes do you pay special attention to in someone looking to land a job with FlexGe?
Their willingness to learn. I think that's one of the first things I try to look at in a person. And then I think it's the sparkle in their eyes when I tell them about our project and what our mission and our vision are. Of course, some job openings demand certain technical aspects that are mandatory, but in general, we are at FlexGe are of the opinion that technical capabilities can be taught or trained, but that cultural fit, that sparkle in the eye, the true purpose alignment must be there. That cannot be bought or paid for or trained for. So I think those two things are for sure the two things that we look for most in candidates.
Okay, so that's cultural fit and this element of soft skills, right? It's important. Okay, Sophie, what do you consider to be your key challenge when it comes to scaling a team at FlexGe?
Well, I think it really has to do with this previous question, because how do you evaluate the sparkle in the eye when we're talking about huge hiring needs? It is something that really keeps me up at night sometimes. I know there are so many personality tests and profile evaluation, hypothetical questions, but it doesn't really replace that eye-to-eye conversation, the feeling you get when you realize that this candidate would fit perfectly into your team. That is something that I think it's really challenging when we start talking about scaling more and more. Other than that, and coming back to one of your first questions in a more technical aspect, finding people that speak English is one of the other challenges we have here in Brazil. But again, that can be taught, and we do encourage so many of our Flex geniuses. That's how we talk about our team to learn. So that wouldn't keep us from hiring a talent just because of that fact of not speaking English.
Got it. And that's the core DNA of your product.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, right?
Yes.
Sophie, obviously, from what you just said, it's apparent that you pay special attention to the cultural fit between the candidate and the employer. But it's always a mutual alignment, isn't it? It's not one-sided project. What can the candidate do to verify this cultural match that you've just mentioned in advance, prior to the interview of his or her interview with the hiring manager?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. It is for sure mutual alignment. I always even joke that nowadays I think it's the candidate that chooses the company and not the other way around, as it was, not many years ago. But I think that, of course, researching what the company is as a whole is extremely important, and not only for cultural fit, but for objective alignment as well. Is the company at the stage you would like to be involved in? Sometimes startups especially are at this very beginning stage. Not everybody is ready to deal with that. Does it have the department that is specialized in what you do? Is the industry something that you'd like to invest time in? I think being passionate about the industry you work with is such a game changer when you're talking about something that you're spending a lot of time with. So, checking out the company's website is a great first step. Understanding their mission, their vision, company values, even the project or their objectives, if you can. And of course, today, social media is such a great resource for that. Instagram, even LinkedIn, of course, and even YouTube are amazing sources of information. Right now at FlexGe, we have started producing a series of videos speaking about our culture, the way we think about our jobs, what our day-to-day life is at the company. And of course, we did this because we want to show people how much we love FlexGe and how amazing it is to work there, but also because we want to provide the candidates with most information we can about what FlexGe is really about, so that they know or they try and understand if this is something that would make sense for them.
Excellent. Okay, and a short kind of follow-up question to what you just said. Would you have any advice for someone looking to enter the industry to land a job at their dream EdTech? What should they pay special attention to, or what could they do?
Well, I think, as I just said, like any other industry, not just EdTechs, you need to be passionate about what you want to do. Education as a whole can be very, very challenging, and trying to bring technology into a very conservative market can prove to be even more so. So just make sure that this is what you're passionate about and go for it. We need great minds, and more than anything, I think we need people that want to make a difference.
Excellent. And that's the perfect summary of our today's discussion. Sophie, can we risk an assumption, or can we make an assumption that we need people who are rebellious to join EdTech? Is this what you just said?
Yeah, I think for any startup, you need a little bit of that rebellious spirit for sure. But I think EdTechs require it a little bit more even.
Excellent, fantastic. Sophie, thanks so much. It's been great to have you here on the call and talk about FlexGe, about your experience of getting into the EdTech world and sharing your journey towards becoming, a CPO at FlexGe. For everyone out there, make sure to tune into the next episode of joinEdTech Talks, where we will uncover even more insights straight from the EdTech talent market. Sophie, anything else from you?
No, I just wanted to thank you so much for the invite again. It's been amazing, and congratulate you on joinEdTech. I'm amazed. I'm really proud of being part of it, and I think it's, as we talked, the first step in such a bigger picture of building a community for all people coming into EdTechs, starting EdTechs. And I would like to just make myself available if anybody needs help, if anybody would like to exchange ideas. I think the idea is to really be part of this community and to help build better companies together. So you have my contact information, and
Excellent.
I just thank you.
Yeah, you make sure to visit Sophie's profile on LinkedIn. But I think that's a great idea, Sophia. I'm totally aligned, and I think this could potentially become a much kind of larger community of experts, of thought leaders that will share their insights, their feedback towards the candidates looking to enter the industry, someone looking to transition even from other roles. Thanks so much. That's super cool to be able to speak to you. Good luck with everything and keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marcin. Bye.
Bye.